Hello and welcome to Lynchburg Live. I'm your host, Linda Smith. My guest tonight is James Lair, owner of Collectors Lair here in Lynchburg. James will be talking to us about collecting and how to find out what our collections may be worth. James, I'm delighted to have you here, and I see you've brought a friend.
Yep, this is Yoda. He just stopped in as a surprise mystery guest.
Where did he drop in from?
Dagobah, his home, where he lives in a nice swamp.
Currently, he's been residing with you on his trip to Lynchburg.
Yes, he's been hanging out with us.
All right. James, I've known you for at least 20 years, and as long as I've known you, you've owned Collectors Lair.
Yep.
Can you tell us how long the business has been?
We've had a store for about 23 years, a little over that. We've moved a couple times over the decades.
And where are you now?
We're at 5924 Fort Avenue, right across from Fort Hill Village, right above Perry Pools.
Okay. Can you tell our audience what Collectors Lair is, what you do there?
Well, we're known as the Collectors Lair and the Vault. We handle both collectibles, entertainment items, and hobby items. We handle both new and used items. Let's see, we carry everything from sports cards and comic books to video games, movies, CDs, to models and trains, stamps, coin supplies, and a variety of other action figures, toys, games. The list is almost endless.
So you have something for everybody.
Pretty much. That's the way we've always designed our store, was that we like it when we have a family walk in and they all split up and head for their own sections of the store. Everywhere from, a lot of stores, at least in our field, usually cater to more male audiences, but we've tried to put something in there for everyone so that the wife or the daughter goes and hits their sections too. So,
I read on somebody's website, I don't know what it was, they were discussing Collectors Lair.
Right.
And this one guy said, I can go there and find anything that I want. Said it took him a little while.
It's a fairly good sized store, which we've probably outgrown yet again. But we're in the, we're in the building that used to be Continental Hobby Shop for 35 years. So that's how we sort of incorporate some of the hobby things we have. But we get a lot of stuff in that we buy back from people, and that's what makes us sort of unique, is that not only do we carry new items and stuff that's just coming out today, but a lot of times you'll walk in, you'll find stuff that people have cleaned out their closets, their attics, or whatnot, and sold us collectibles or toys or something from 20 years ago. And so you can come in and find stuff that you remember as a child or from your childhood, or just things that you never thought you'd ever see again. All of a sudden you walk in, there's one sitting on the shelf.
And every now and then you hear about somebody who is going through an attic or a basement or through an old collection
Right.
and finds a comic book that's worth thousands and thousands
Right.
of dollars. Do we have any of that happening here in Lynchburg?
Well, you always find, hidden treasures. And I mean, people will sometimes just walk in with stuff that they found just cleaning out the closet or at a yard sale, or they tearing down a wall and there was something stuffed in the wall. I know one collection that was found here was walked into one of a former card shop here in town, was about 600 of the 1910 tobacco cards. And they were all looked like they just came out of a pack of cards today.
My
They were in
goodness.
beautiful condition. There were several Ty Cobbs and all your players from back then, and that collection was probably easily $100,000. So I mean, there's never know what you're going to find in your when you clean out your grandmother's house or whatnot. People just store stuff away and forget about it.
Were you a collector as a child? Did you collect comic books or any kind of collection that started?
Yeah. I collected some comics when I was younger, and sports cards and stamps. I sort of had my father was a big coin collector, so I sort of followed, I guess, in his footsteps, collected other things. As far as comics, I used to go to basically it was a little hole-in-the-wall shop here in town called the Treasure Chest, and they closed in probably the early '80s, and then there was not a shop here for several years, and that's sort of what led me into opening my store.
That's what I was going to. Next question was,
Right.
how did you get involved in doing this? What?
Well, when I was, I started pretty young. When I was probably in a 14, 15-year-old range, I was buying and selling things at the flea market, yard sales and flea markets and things. And because of my collecting interests and that there was nobody else in town that really handled this, I sort of evolved into handling sports cards and comic books. And then between my junior and senior years in high school, I opened a small shop over on Leesville Road, and sort of grew from there over the years.
That young, you started
Yep.
doing that?
Yeah, I was I was 17 when I opened my store.
So this is really kind of in your blood.
Pretty much. Don't know what else I would do if I did do this.
Is your family involved, your wife? I mean,
Yeah.
are they
yeah,
involved in it?
You know, my wife is from Europe and has not really had any of a collecting background. I mean, her family really did collect or save anything. And so you know, she sort of came to love it, you know, as we our relationship blossomed. Her collecting interest blossomed.
So she does come help you?
Oh yes,
She's in the store?
she usually is one of the main ones in the store. Yes, and my daughters, I have 4 daughters, and the oldest couple help out here too.
That's neat that everybody's involved.
Yeah.
I know from talking to you and from knowing you for a while that this job does not just involve an 8-hour day, 5 days a week.
No,
I don't. Tell our audience?
I don't really think that anyone who works for themselves, or especially runs a retail store, works just 8-hour days. I'm not even sure what I would do with myself if I just worked an 8-hour day. You know, there's always something more to do. You know, especially with this business, even after we close, there's things to do, and so you never really. There's always a to-do list, and so you always feel bad if you're just sitting there doing nothing when it's your business.
How much time do you spend away from the store looking for collectibles?
Really not very much. I mean, because we've been around so long and we're fairly well known, almost more than we can handle usually walks in the door,
That's neat.
Because some of the other stores in town send, people come in with stuff and they don't handle, so they send them to us. So we really get a lot now. I mean, there's a lot of people who do, hunt yard sales and flea markets, and can find quite a bit of, good deals there if you know what you're looking for. Information is usually the key,
Did you do that in the beginning?
Oh, probably a little more than I do now. I will say probably my biggest find ever was at a yard sale, a church yard sale. They had a case of Luke Skywalker Star Wars action figures from 1984 that someone had donated, and I paid like around $1 a piece, and they're particularly, this figure in this particular packaging was rare, and they went for about $175 a piece. So but that's my all-time greatest find. Now, I don't play the lottery or anything because I figured I used up all my luck on that. So.
But that's a great story.
Right.
Really
that's but other people, find really good things. But like I said, the biggest thing is when I bought those action figures, it was at the end of the day. They were closing up, and they had sold. They had about close to 100 of them when they started, and they'd sold a couple dozen through the whole day. So countless people had been through there, and because they didn't realize what they were, left them behind. So really, that's really the key, is information.
Do you have a lot of science fiction collectibles? I'm easing us into an association, a relationship with Yoda.
We do. We carry, of course, Star Wars and Star Trek. There's also, Battlestar Galactica, and whatever you would consider, we have something for that TV show or movie line that comes in.
What makes an item a true collectible?
Well, I would say that what a lot of times I tell people is that if you're buying an item and the more they tell you how collectible it is and how much it's going to be worth and how special it is, usually they're not the ones that are usually worth something.
Beanie Babies pops into my
Well,
mind.
yeah, but you know, and that was more of a fad. But when you come with what's collectible, what becomes collectible, if you look down through history, the things that are worth something are mostly the things that people thought weren't worth anything.
Right.
You know, the reason old comic books are worth something is that 99% of them were thrown away. And so maybe 1 or 2, 3% of them survived. Same, you know, with sports cards, a little better percentage, but that. So usually it's items, you know, the reason that, say, for instance, that coins, for instance, that you have to go back 100 years before they really start becoming worth something, is that people considered those, you know, worth keeping and have saved them, tons of them over the years and decades, right, and passed them down. But so usually it's usually something that's worth something is usually something that is something that's limited. We'll take Yoda here, for instance.
Okay.
You know, he's fairly limited. He's unusual. Usually it's to something that is to something of continuing interest. You know, like a Star Wars or a Star Trek or you know, a sports item or something like that.
And something with a terrific fan base, I can imagine.
Right, right. Something that's going to have an extended fan base and has a fairly large fan base. So that's sort of some of the factors that go into it. You know, there's also factors such as condition and like I mentioned, rarity. But that's the biggest thing. You know, there's a lot of items out there that are old and they're in top shape and they were popular one time, but no one really follows them now, and so they really don't have a value today. You know, your Beanie Babies is I mean, that's not very old, but that's sort of an example there that, you know, people were, you know, everybody thought they were going to be worth, you know, a fortune forever, and like I said, there wasn't a limited supply of them really.
Right.
And so, you know, once people sort of died down on their popularity, the prices dropped, and once the prices start dropping, it's sort of a cascade effect.
So rarity and a demand for the item are the two most important
And
things.
something can be super rare, but if nobody wants it, it's not worth anything.
Right, right. Tell us about Yoda, what he's worth, where you got him.
Well, he was brought into our store back probably close to 8 or 10 years ago. He, as I understand it, was a contest award, prize award from Blockbuster that they had one in each movie. This came out when The Phantom Menace came out, and it was to help promote the movie when it came out on video. So there's a limited supply of them out there. I know at one point he was going for around $800. I haven't really checked on it recently, but you know, he'll always probably be worth something because, one, he's unusual. It's an unusual piece. There's not that many of them around. It's to an ongoing series. You know, Star Wars will probably not die off anytime soon, and so he'll probably always have a fairly significant value just because, you know, it's an unusual piece. I mean, it's something that, you know, people walk in and go, that's really cool, you know.
Yeah. And he's in wonderful condition.
Yeah, yeah, he's you know, like I said, he's been sitting in a swamp for a while, so you know, he's a little dingy, but
I don't know what I was going to say, but he is realistic and very interesting. I'm so glad you brought him.
We startle quite a few people. We have him in our store. He sits on a showcase, and you come around the corner, and there he is staring at you. And
is he for sale?
We tell people, you know, if you want to offer us an astronomical value, you know, go ahead. Everything's always for sale.
Right, everything's
but
got
normally
a price.
we say no.
I just wondered if you would be. Do you have anything else similar to this?
Well, we have, I guess some of I like to collect unusual things for myself. You know, if I'm going to save something, it's usually going to be unusual. So Yoda is an item we have. We have a R2-D2 cooler, Pepsi cooler that they used in retail stores. I have a Naboo, it's a starship from one of the Star Wars movies. It's about 6 or 7 feet long, hanging from the ceiling. One thing I don't have out that I have is it's about a 15-foot in diameter blow-up mothership from Independence Day. Oh. It's, you know, sort of unusual things I like to grab.
how much story